So yeah, welcome everybody to today's after church tea time. Today we have a full house with all the beautiful ladies here. It's Kanisha, Rachel, Valentina, and me. Your today's host. My name is Carmen, and we are going to discuss the topic of today's sermon from Laurencio and Alexandra on the topic breaking free from guilt. A very juicy and in-depth topic. I think every one of us has dealt with guilt in some way or another in our lives. And I feel many people still move through that on a day-to-day basis, especially when making a mistake or, not feeling good enough. It's all intertwined into feeling guilty for something. And it's kind of hard to let go of. But I feel today's sermon really gave us a good perspective on how to let go of that, how to really heal that. And I'm just wanting to ask you ladies how you felt about the sermon and what was your biggest takeaway?
Well, for me, I found that the other word that went with guilt a lot in the sermon was judgment. And this is something that I've had to really work a lot through, is not to judge the upset that I'm working through. And I felt that when I would really judge it, that's where that guilt would start to penetrate and come through. And I would start to be moving through both of these energies and just recognizing that it was really just ego, even though it doesn't exist, way of trying to keep us trapped in this upset instead of just moving through the pattern in the most loving way, which is what Jeff and Shaleia provide for us with the mirror exercise in this work, is how to move through all of your upsets and patterns in the most compassionate way. One of my favorite things that I've heard Lau and Alex say was that it's really important to see yourself from God's eyes. And I've noticed in the last at least 4 or 5 months for myself, this is something I've really been working hard and focusing on within myself and within my union, is to see myself in God's eyes and to see my twin flame from God's eyes and just seeing us as divine. And when I do that, it really allows me to detach from the upset and really just look at what is the lesson that's being presented here, because that's what we're always calling in, is the lesson to go deeper into love and coming to this realization that if I can just detach from the upset and just receive the lesson, then I can come closer to God or go right back to God so much faster than sitting in the upset.
Yeah, I agree with guilt being an ego trap. I mean, I've had issues with guilt, and I'm working with a lot of people who are carrying guilt themselves. I actually released a big load of guilt just the other day that I've been carrying for nearly 40 years. It is like a fire that burns the wood of your progress. It's to do with self-punishment, and also it's got to do with when you're trying to love yourself in a certain place and that part of you is resisting love because it feels guilty and like it doesn't deserve that love. So that's something to watch for in your healing, and do some extra healing, some extra loving in that place. Choose to release the guilt. Use logic to show how ridiculous guilt is. But you don't need punishing. And that takes us into the subject of self-forgiveness, because that's a huge theme as well. It's been showing up in every mirror exercise that I've been doing. Forgive yourself for having treated yourself this way. And certainly in my group, a theme that seemed to emerge last week was that everybody was having issues forgiving their twin flame for something or other. And when you're having difficulty in doing that, you don't have to worry about forgiving them. It's you that need your forgiveness. So just forgive yourself in that place until it's completely healed, piece by piece. You can feel it gradually, layer by layer. It may take a lot of exercises to dissolve it completely, but just keep going. And another aspect of it, it's like, don't be upset at yourself for having upsets. Don't feel guilty for having upsets. Don't think that because something's arising, you think, oh God, I haven't healed anything, my union's further away than ever. No, it's not. It's actually moving through these feelings that brings you closer to union and into union. So it's good to have upsets arise. It's good in the sense that you were already carrying them, they were already there, and you don't want to be walking around with those lower energies in you. So if it's coming up to be cleared, if your twin flame triggers it to come up to be cleared, so accept and be grateful for the wonderful gift that they're giving you. And release, choose to release judgment of yourself and of others.
Yeah, I'd like to share something as well about guilt. Like, I remember before doing Jeff and Shaleia's work, I remember that guilt was such a normal part of life, you know, and I noticed, like, in relationships, like, people would actually express guilt and feel guilt as a way of, like, letting someone know that they cared for them. Like, if someone you love was going through something hard, then like, I would feel like guilty, or I would see it in other people's relationships that they would feel guilty, and that was like their way of showing, I care for you, I am going through this with you, I'm going to take on the burden too. And then since I've been like invested in Jeff and Shaleia's teachings, I've learned that guilt is a feeling of hell. So whenever you feel guilt, you're basically experiencing the illusion of hell. And yeah, like, it's just the worst feeling, one of the worst feelings ever. So it's good to just heal it, like, notice it obviously as soon as you can. Notice when you're feeling guilty. Sometimes, like, you know, we don't always notice immediately because we think it's normal, and then, you know, we're feeling taken from and drained, or we're not being able to move forward in upsets that we've cleared because there's guilt that we're holding on to. And then so then once we notice it, we can do something about it, we acknowledge it, and we can choose to let it go, or go into even more deeply, like by doing the mirror exercise. And yeah, like, even now, like, when I'm watching like a movie or a series and I see the characters and then they're like, oh, I feel so guilty, I'm like, so glad that, like, I'm not in that space anymore, without not knowing how to feel that relief and come out of it. And like, when we invest in this work, we can just let go of guilt and then bring life into that space and bring something new where there was no life anymore. So yeah, like, it's so empowering to let go of guilt.
Yeah, I also feel a big part of releasing guilt is actually already accepting that we are going to make mistakes, and that we already made a lot of mistakes in our life, and that mistakes are part of the process, part of learning. And, you know, you won't know that you're going to get hurt and get burned by the hot stove, or, you know, when you maybe haven't touched that. Maybe your parents told you many times, but you still had to feel it for yourself and experience for yourself, but you actually realize that you have been safe all along in experiencing that. And this is, I also love the meditation, you know, with the playground, where you see your inner child like playing innocently, and then something happens, it gets hurt, and then instead of, you know, maybe screaming at it and like, oh, you're so stupid, why didn't you be more aware and conscious here, you just had compassion. You choose to have compassion for yourself and forgive yourself, and, you know, you learn from it, make a new choice. And that's the point. And I also love that Lau and Alex talked about, you know, especially in this community, it's super safe to make mistakes. And you will make mistakes. And when you just heal it, acknowledge that, heal that, no one is going to give a F about what happened, because everyone is healing alongside with you. And this is like the safest space, a space created by God to really go deeper into love, deeper into forgiveness and letting go and growing ultimately, because no one has reached a certain point without making any mistakes. And that is, I feel, a really huge part. And I love that they also shared in the sermon, like, you move faster through, judgment, having guilt, or whatever bad feeling it is, when you just acknowledge what happened very honestly. Like, yeah, I did something really stupid here, and I accept that. It's just a fact. It's like saying the sky is blue on a clear day, right? Or whatever kind of blue it is for you. But, you just accept it as a fact. It's nothing more, nothing less. And then you can move through it. It's also like, I notice for myself when I'm moving through a very difficult feeling that I can't pinpoint right away, and I'm sitting with it and like, what is this? I'm almost in this space of like trying to resist it because I'm not be able to put a finger on it immediately. But when I just relax and acknowledge, like, okay, I let go. I can't name it right away. That's okay. I just choose to sit with that. I choose to be present with myself here. I choose to have compassion for myself. And I choose to feel all my feelings. So I'm not dumb when I can't say right away, what's the point here? It's just a process of going deeper. And also I love that they shared that it is super important for you to feel safe in your journey. When you give yourself that safety, what do you need? For me, it's almost like I bought this new chair because I needed to feel more comfortable, I feel like in a human hug with that. I feel super safe in feeling my feelings in it. I feel super safe in working here, and it gives me a total new experience and comfort and support to go deeper. It provides safety to me, but it's safety that I called in within myself, and it manifested in this chair, right? It manifests in this community and in people who are there for you. And I also love that they shared that you have always everything there within you right away. And sometimes we just have to ask for it again, like, God, show me, please, I need more support here. And that's okay, we need a shit ton of support to move through our stuff, but it's all given. And sometimes a person will come through. Sometimes you will receive a nudge in your heart right away, or sometimes you just need to lay down in your bed and cry it out because you feel more safe there. That's for me sometimes the case, right? I feel like, I feel stuck here. I'm asking myself, asking God, what help me to move through this? Show me the way, please. And he tells me, yeah, just go for a walk. I have to change the energy when you feel stuck where you are right now. And this is extremely helpful. It's a relationship you build within yourself, your relationship you build within this community. And yeah, I also have a lot of compassion for the people thinking like, God is some kind of punisher, and when you did a mistake, you're going to be punished. I see that still a lot in our world today. But that's simply not real. We are just believing in punishment ourselves, and we are allowed to let go of that, no matter how big a sin it was. Even in your past lifetimes, I also remember for myself when I was moving through a lot of feeling like, oh my God, I have this big challenge right now, or I had this huge accident just recently. What have I done to other people that I deserve that right now? And that is the case, I don't deserve that. I chose that for myself to move through it, to have that challenge for myself, to really make a big step forward. And all the steps along the way, I was safe. I was with God, and I will always be. And this is the only thing that we have to see here. And in going deeper and feeling more safe and letting go of the belief that guilt, punishment, or shame is real.
Yeah, I love everything that you said there. There was something that Alex did point out, was that when we are moving through a lot of shame and guilt, especially around maybe like upsets within volunteering, or maybe like not moving through an upset completely or quickly, is that we tend to back away from the community instead of growing closer to the community, when that is the foundation of what we're like healing. That's what we're moving through, and really allowing ourselves to come closer. I remember reading something that Jeff had put, that he trusts his his students who choose to just go into the fire and just move through things without really, like, they're just like, that's the next step. I have to go into this place, I have to look at it, I have to move through it. And that they have built trust with him in this place. And I could feel that desire in my heart to want to be able to just like go into the fire. But there has been times where you go into the fire and you're like, ow, that hurt. Like, I don't know if I want to do that. But it is having to build trust with yourself and with God, that when you truly do, the only thing you'll find on the other side of that is love. And that is really ultimately where everyone comes here, is because they are wanting to heal their upset of being afraid of love, of saying no to love. And it's having to just trust the process, that you're not going to be hurt, but you're going to be healed, and you're going to thrive. And this is something that, even being in the community, going on 6 years here in January, that is still having to just gently work my way there, especially with people who have come from a very traumatic background or a very traumatic family. As I found that a lot of the things that I was moving through, it felt a lot of my guilt was when I would project my family upsets onto the community or onto Jeff and Shaleia. And once I started to really realize that, guilt arose first, but then I realized like that was part of the purpose of this community, was to help me see that these are my patterns, to help me see that this is what I'm doing, and that I can now make a new choice here. And so once I really started doing that, there was a moment in time where I did back away, because I was projecting and I was upset and I was hurt. But once I recognized this, I made a choice to heal. And then I naturally felt drawn closer to the community. I felt safer. I felt like, okay, I can sometimes throw my fit, and I'm still going to be loved here. I'm not going to be like thrown out. I'm going to be loved. And that was really just reassuring for me. But it also encouraged me to be better, to do better, to really reflect, and to truly do this inner work, and to, because it doesn't feel good to project your crap onto people, and it doesn't feel good to when they project on you. But when you really do have that awareness, you start to move through things quicker, and you go into the fire and you move through it, and then you're out of it, and you realize that, oh, it wasn't so scary. It may not have felt great, and it may have been uncomfortable, but that really is what growth is, and enlightenment is having to move through those uncomfortable feelings and truly go into that next step with God, and trusting that he's always going to hold your hand as you walk through it. That was another thing that Jeff had always said. It's like, it's okay to just relax. Like, God has you in his hands, like just be in God's hands. And that brought a lot of peace to my heart, because like you said, growing up in a very Catholic background, it was like, if you do this, God's going to punish you, and God sees this, and God's going to be angry with you. And so it almost felt like, oh my gosh, I have to be perfect in order to walk through this world, or I'm not going to heaven, kind of thing. But the way that they bring this work to us, it really is an understanding of like, it's an inner thing. And when you can truly have peace inwardly, it really allows you to see that like your heaven is already here. Like, God never left you, and he's never not loved you. And when you really try to, or when you really choose to see yourself in God's eyes, it really starts to shift the directory of your life, because you're now moving from love and from loving eyes instead of like rose colored glasses kind of thing. So it's been a really beautiful experience to learn that it's okay to continue moving through life and sometimes making mistakes, but it doesn't mean that you run from the community who loves you, or run from love. That's the whole purpose of this work, is to run to love and run to God. And I'm very grateful that this is something that has been an opportunity for me to learn and to grow and to receive in this lifetime.
Yeah, there was a lot there. Carmen, I've just noticed your little daisy earrings. I think I've seen them before. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I mean, what Kanisha was saying just now about somebody making a mistake or just doing something that they don't perceive to be perfect or good enough and running away and hiding. This points to a block that a lot of people have about being afraid of sharing, being afraid of being seen. And this boils down to really a fear of judgment. So if you're afraid you're going to be judged, you must be judging yourself somehow. And this has been quite a theme in the community a few weeks ago. The energy of choosing to stop judging oneself came up for the collective quite strongly, I believe. And yeah, and you've got to trust that you've got to choose not to judge yourself, choose to release judgment of self and others. And as you said a few minutes ago, trust God to go into the fire, into the cave of fear, because if you can stand up to that fear, you realize that it was an illusion the whole time, but you have to look it in the face, as it were, not just take a few tentative steps towards it and then run away again. A lot of people do that. I'm sure we've all done that. And there's no shame in that. It's part of the learning process. Yeah, you must not be afraid of making mistakes, and don't try to avoid mistakes, because it's like avoiding being triggered. It's necessary for your progress. Mistakes are part of growth. So if you're avoiding mistakes, you're avoiding growth. No one's going to think any less of you for making a mistake or not performing as well as perhaps you might have thought you ought to. So nobody's going to judge you for that. And there's also a lot of guilt and judgment that comes up. And yeah, this is pretty universal. It's like feeling guilty and judging oneself for having made the original choice of separation. It's like separating from God, separating from the twin flame. But beating yourself up about it isn't going to remove that choice, but making a new choice to be with God and to have love will. It's not difficult. It doesn't have to be hard. You can be compassionate with yourself. You can choose for it to be easy. That doesn't mean that there won't be challenges. Of course, there will be. Certainly, one of my coaching sessions recently, my coach was suggesting, well, a great big challenge may come up, and with union on the other side of it. And I said, bring it on. And she said, oh, be careful what you wish for. So I quickly added, in a compassionate way. So you can always choose the gentlest, most compassionate way for yourself. And be gentle with yourself, be kind to yourself. And that means not punishing yourself or beating yourself up for this, that, or the other. In order to complete your journey to union and harmonious union and beyond, it does require one hell of a lot of self-compassion. So remember to be compassionate with yourself, be compassionate with your twin flame, be compassionate with everyone. And know that God is always being super compassionate with you.
Yeah, you touched on calling in like that next step with God. And I think sometimes we forget how powerful our choice is, and really allowing ourselves to call that in. It's almost just like calling in your true twin flame when you're not ready. If you're not like truly in this work and you're not truly doing the inner work, then it's not compassionate to call your true twin flame in, because then you're going to receive a lot of contrast with trying to navigate it more in a soulmate tendency than an actual twin flame tendency, which is to heal. And I do recall Shaleia saying that it's not appropriate to have your twin flame in your life just to judge yourself, especially if they're mirroring some really uncomfortable things back to you. And this was something that I just recently moved through, where I told God, like, I really desire to heal the core block of my harmonious union, which was channeled to me by Jeff a few years back. And it stemmed from not feeling enough. And so as I was making this choice, and I always ask God to show me the most gentle and compassionate way for it to be revealed to me. This energy of a third party started to occur within my energy. Just this feeling that I could, like Carmen had said, I couldn't just pinpoint it, but I could just feel it. And I started having some intrusive thoughts, and I was having some very vivid dreams. And then in my reality, there was this illusion that presented itself of like a third party. And initially I was like, what did I do wrong? What's happening here? But then I heard Jeff in my mind, and he was like, sometimes we'll call things in and then we think that we're ready for it and we're not. And I was like, oh, nope, I'm totally ready for this. So I went home, I sat down for 2 hours, I moved through my feelings, I moved through the mirror exercise. And I was like, I totally see that this is coming up because it's part of my core block. Like, I feel not enough in this place. And so as I moved through it, my coach had invited me to ask my twin flame if there is like a third party. And this was something that I felt really bad about at first, because I felt guilty and I felt judgment of like having to ask this question, and having to like question whether or not this energy is in our union. But she was like, you don't judge yourself, and you'll have clarity once you actually move through it, and you'll have peace there. And so I did. And he laughed and he was like, no. He was like, however, my entire family is moving through this energy and I feel like I'm at the center of it. So I was like, okay, I'm not wrong. What I felt was very right. And I was doing a lot of the spiritual work, and he was having to move through it, a lot of it in the physical reality. And so by having that conversation, we were able to get clear on some things. And my coach is right. There was a massive deep peace after that. We felt closer. And I really felt safe enough to go into that space where I would usually avoid conflict and just be like, no, I'll figure it out. I'll work through it by myself. But she was like, you've called in your twin flame. You're not meant to work through it by yourself. And this is something that is now, if you want to partner with him, this is where you partner. And so there was a lot of learning in that space of how to truly harmonize with my twin flame and how to work through some of those bigger core blocks. And of course, I felt safer to be able to kind of just like go into that conflict and really move through it. And then once I really sat with it, I was like, wow, I could see how all of that was an illusion. And I could have lost myself in this illusion if I didn't have this work. And I just had so much gratitude. And I just had a moment where I just kind of just broke down and just gratefulness to God that he had brought me to this community to really work through all these things that come up so that I can harmonize with my ultimate lover, and I can harmonize with myself, and I can really call in a beautiful life where I can let go of that fear of third party and not being chosen or cheated on, or where I can move through jealousy and all of this stuff, which is what we're not taught at all, but we're taught here. And so that was just a deep relief in my heart to know that I have such a beautiful foundation, and that I do have something, this work, that's going to truly support that foundation and growing. So for me, that was something I just recently moved through, and it really did help me see that there's so many illusions that we can get caught in, but if we're truly present with ourselves and are really willing to move through that uncomfortable feeling or that fear that's arising, that again, the only thing on the other side of it is love and more God.
Yeah, I feel that was really powerful. Thank you for sharing your story. I feel that was really empowering and definitely true. And it's funny that we all say, like, when we call in our next level, saying like, but I choose it in a compassionate way. because was starting the journey, I'll always come back to that anecdote. It's like when I started, I was like, give it all to me, and God delivered. And I had no idea that I could choose a compassionate and kind of like easy way. But, you know, I went hard on myself. And now being a few years into this work, actually realizing like, yeah, going, you know, it's like this burnout energy that was pointed out in the reading as well. Like when you go all in, you be like, God, give me everything, let's go. And then you burn out into your challenges. They are too much for you to handle. And then you kind of like make it through. You feel so amazing. You're kind of like high from it because you got also high from the challenge you just moved through. And you don't give yourself time to ground and you be like, now I feel good. I'm ready to go to the next level. And like, yeah, that's not a compassionate way. But I feel like this is also something, you know, people told me since the beginning, man, I had to move through it myself and realize like, yeah, that's really not compassionate on myself. Doesn't feel good. And I choose a balanced life because this journey is all about peace. But also recognizing like, I remember a few months ago, I felt this stable, peaceful, safety feeling in my life. And I was like, oh, I'm ready to be a full-time actress, God. I choose it. I claim it. Show me the way. Show me also the way to my true twin flame, of course. I choose the compassionate and easy way, an obvious way, please. And I choose to claim all of my support and let it go. And of course, God delivered again. But honestly, I feel, even though it was quite a challenging time, it kind of like still is, I still felt that all the way through, I had all of the support I needed because I also constantly asked God, like, please, I choose to receive all of my support. I choose to give myself all of the support that I need here. And this is truly, I feel really groundbreaking because sometimes we forget that we are the ones that to resist our good to ourselves. And just by a simple choice, a powerful choice, you can change it all. And that was actually something, so I like from a class where Jeff says, like, when things get overwhelming or seem to be too much to handle at that point, God is basically asking you, then give it to me, my child. He said it like this in this class, and this really touched me a lot because, yeah, you're not alone in this. God is partnering with you, as you all shared as well in this discussion today. Like all the way through, God is holding your hand. And I also love that they shared in the class, like however you want God to envision, wherever he is still in the sky for you, wherever he is next to you, behind you, below you. He's basically, of course, everywhere in truth, within you, within everyone, and here and there and everywhere. But however you like to envision that is the right thing for you to do. And just envisioning that, knowing you're not alone, someone is constantly holding your hand when you need to. That's like the thing. And also realizing like your inner work, you don't do alone. Sometimes I thought like, oh, I'm doing my inner work alone. That, you know, like kind of sucks, but it's just surrendering to God, asking him, hey, show me, please, the way, show me my feeling, please give me an image to that, or please guide me through that. And sometimes, or most of the times, especially in the difficult challenges, I also taught myself to, or really disciplined myself to call in my gurus in my heart, because I'm also worthy of their support within my heart, and it's always there. It's there through the classes, of course, but also when sometimes, you know, there is this icky feeling, you'd be like, what the, I can't see through this one right now. I'm also not receiving something from God really, but the only thing I receive is actually like, go and ask your gurus in your heart. This is also something I felt very unworthy of before, like I have that access to them within myself, and that I felt like Jeff was guiding me through really deep blocks, like really easily. And that brought me closer to them as well, and to the community. And I remember that this was actually a part of me being part of the live classes a year ago, very quickly and easily when they started them again, because I developed that relationship within myself, and I really claimed that for myself. But yeah, this was this is just a beautiful thing to know, that you always can call in your support and really surrender to that. Or, you know, most of the times, of course, you hear your coaches moving you through an upset, when you don't really see that right now. But yeah, it's just beautiful that we know that we have everything, and knowing that what they shared in the sermon again is like God won't lead you to water without a pitcher. So you always have everything that you need.
Yeah, calling it in. That was something that Alex and Lau mentioned. Calling in a new lifestyle and making big life changes, making big life choices, and then everything that's out of alignment with that new choice comes out. It all comes out. Sometimes it feels like it all comes out at once, and it's possible to lose sight of where you're going in the midst of the challenges. Also, it becomes more difficult to feel your twin flame when you're upheaving a lot, because all the stuff coming out forms like a cloud, and people that are quite new to the journey get a little bit afraid when that happens, but nothing has gone wrong. It's all part of the process. Just allow everything to release, and then you'll feel the connection stronger because you've got rid of a load of energies that you didn't want in your union. And if challenges seem very difficult, third party or whatever, etc., just keep choosing your heaven on earth, keep choosing your twin flame, your perfect life of love, keep claiming it, keep choosing yourself, keep claiming yourself, keep choosing God, keep claiming God, keep choosing to be with God, and you will come out the other side. And yeah, like you said a few minutes ago, it's not compassionate to just heal one thing and then go gung-ho jumping into the next. It is important, in fact, Granville said this in an earlier tea time, it's important to give yourself a little bit of time for the healing that you've just done to settle and integrate. I think that's why sometimes there's a period where you're not finding many upsets or even any upsets, and you are allowed breaks, you are allowed a little bit of respite. When you're in one of those periods, just enjoy it and know you're about to go deeper. And then it will feel like everything's gone to shit because you've gone to the bottom of the next level up, like a computer game. But you get good at working the process. You get to know and predict the healing cycles that you move through. So you'll be able to organize your day around your healing, so you can arrange to be curled up with a cup of cocoa when you're going to be upheaving. And you can, it's like spiritual workouts followed by rest and recuperation. And like with any workout routine, you learn to let it work for you.
It's beautiful. Yeah, I like that. It's so true. We are learning to build our spiritual muscle, and every time we go deeper, we can take on more and more and go deeper. But we have to build that trust within ourselves and that safety. And that's the process. As they also shared, when you made a mistake and you hear from that, you might have to rebuild trust with certain people, but that's okay. And that's something I feel that most people try to rush in, me including, starting the journey as well, and still, learning to release that, not trying to rush anything, not trying to rush union, not trying to rush a certain manifestation on the outside. It's going to happen when I'm ready for it, when I work that progress, and when I've attained that vibration within myself. And that's a journey. And something that is true is like trust is not built overnight, and trust is something so valuable in a relationship, in every relationship, whether it's with your twin or this community. You build that, and in that case, like, time is kind of like real. It takes time, and that's so fine. Also building trust with yourself, feeling your feelings, knowing that you won't die when you look at that upset. You won't die after that challenge, and every challenge makes you stronger, and you start to be able to predict, as you also shared, Rachel, like you can feel when this new upset phase is coming, because it's like the quiet before the storm. But instead of like being freaked out already in the quiet and the peace, like something's big gonna happen, I caught myself this time, like, I can feel something's big going to happen here. Just still relaxing into that and choosing to feel safe anyway, because yes, it's going to happen, and it's going to happen over and over again. But it's not because I'm doing things wrong. It's not because I'm going backwards, even though it really looks like that sometimes. It is not the case. It's a simple choice of choosing to see the bigger picture here. And I also love this graphic where you feel like healing feels sometimes like you're just moving in circles, you're in a rat wheel, but when you actually choose to have a different look at it, you see that you're going deeper into the upset, finally healing this root, the root of separation here. And that is truly the case. And with every challenge, I started congratulating myself every time I'm in a challenge, like, yes, I must have earned that. I'm on the verge of a big breakthrough here. It's always the darkest before dawn, so keep trusting that. And we have, watch a class if you feel super uncomfortable with it, or you don't know whether you're making progress, because a class is always going to attune you into perfect peace, to move through things quicker, and that is really valuable. So I actually start to feel very complete here. How about you, ladies? Valentina, you too? Yeah, perfect. Just gonna quickly check again whether you have any comments, but it doesn't look like that. So yeah, with that being said, thank you all for watching. Thank you, ladies, for joining me here today. It was a beautiful discussion. I took a lot for myself again, and I hope you too. And whether you're watching from YouTube, if you're watching from YouTube, please like and subscribe and check out our website. That was a little rhyme here. And thank you for watching. So have a great rest Sunday. Bye.